When he was a boy, one night before bed, his mother told him a story, a tale of a red string tied to the pinky finger, said to connect two people destined to be together. Yet she spoke of it with uncertainty, as if even she wasn't sure it was true. "Sometimes," she would say softly, "you have to tie the string yourself instead of waiting for it to find the other end." He was too young to understand her words back then, but as the years passed, he began to grasp their meaning. His mother's marriage to his father had been arranged, an agreement made between their families, not born from love. Yet what began as obligations slowly changed. As he grew older, he watched his parents care for one another in quiet ways, their bond strengthening with each passing year. What had once been tied by duty became something they would never let go of. His father was a great swordsman, noble in both skill and spirit, and above all, a father, the man who inspired him to become who he was meant to be. Now, the years had passed. The young noble boy had grown into a man, and it was time to fulfill his duties as a noble. A loud shout rang out, "Hold your ground! The enemy is approaching!" A forest inside Sylvania Kingdom had become a battlefield as soldiers fought against the invading monsters. "Pesky goblins," one soldier muttered in frustration. The fighting was fierce, but the soldiers had trained for this moment. Their discipline gave them the advantage, and the battle quickly began to tilt in their favor. Lacus Sarenhart, the Marquis's son, fought at the front lines with fearless determination. His control over Earth made every strike of his sword deadly, breaking enemy lines with ease. On horseback, he leaned forward with steady hands on the reins, eyes scanning the battlefield. Soldiers around him straightened in resolve, inspired by his courage. The goblins, however, scattered at the sight of him, sensing the danger he carried with every movement. "Hold the line! I'm going to help the others in trouble." "Go, young lord! We can handle this!" a soldier replied in a courageous voice, holding back the enemy and opening a path for Sarenhart. Lacus Sarenhart charged forward to aid his allies. "Stay strong! I'm here to help!" He poured his magic into the earth where the enemies stood, and the ground shook. The goblins lost their balance, and his comrades took the opportunity to strike them down. The clash raged on, yet victory was within their grasp. In the midst of the conflict, a goblin fired a wooden-tipped arrow at Lacus, but it hit nothing. The arrow caught fire and snapped with a sharp, crisp crack before it could reach him. The arrow had been incinerated by Princess Brianna Solvane of Sylvania. Despite her petite frame, she gave off such power that it scared the enemies, and even her allies feared her strength. The battle was nearing its end. "Charge! Finish this battle!" Tim's voice rang out, commanding the soldiers. They surged forward, determined to drive the goblins to extinction. The fight had been fierce, and many were injured, but miraculously, there were no casualties. After the battle against the goblins, the group returned to their base. Renhart moved among the soldiers, helping to treat the wounded and care for the injured. Time passed, and soon dinner was served. "Fill your bellies and restore your strength," Lacus commanded from the dining hall. "After that, I'll reward you with alcohol to celebrate our victory." The soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted. "Thank you, young lord! Long live the Sarenhart family!" Shouts of praise and gratitude echoed through the hall, all directed at Lacus Sarenhart. Sarenhart sat at the table near Tim while his comrades ate. "Does the Princess of Sylvania really have that much strength?" he asked. Tim scratched the back of his neck, speaking with uncertainty. "The princess, she's strong. People say that when she was young, her talent even exceeded an elite knight. And her flames, powerful enough to melt armor." Sarenhart ate in silence, lost in thought, while Tim simply finished his food. A soldier stepped into the dining hall, carrying something round. The others shouted with excitement, their faces lighting up. The beverage had arrived after their meal. Barrels of beer and wine were rolled out, and the hall quickly filled with laughter and cheer. "Have some drinks, my lord," Tim said, handing Lacus a glass of wine. "Thanks, Tim," Lacus replied, his expression slightly puzzled. "Why the long face?" Tim teased. "Do you think my reputation will be any less if I challenge a lady?" Reinhardt answered, almost without thinking. Tim looked confused for a moment, then realization hit. "Challenging the princess," he said, laughing hysterically. "Don't worry about it, young lord. Even if you lose, no one will judge." Locus blinked in shock. "The princess? Really that strong?" Tim laughed harder, teasing him. "Are you planning marrying the princess?" "What do you mean, marrying?" Locus stammered, his face turning red. Tim finally calmed his laughter and explained, "The king made an announcement. If the princess accepts the duel and you succeed in defeating her, he may consider a betrothal to his daughter." Reinhardt, trying to stay composed, said, "This is news to me." Tim grinned and jabbed, "Of course it is, young lord. Your mind is mostly full of swords and battles. Ladies aren't exactly in your vocabulary." Reinhardt felt both teased and a little embarrassed, unsure where to look. The night continued. The air was cheerful, filled with the sounds of drunk soldiers singing and celebrating their victory. As time passed, the noise slowly faded and the hall grew quiet. The party ended, and the soldiers went to sleep. Sarenhart stepped outside, strolling under the stars. The sky was full of countless shining lights, beautiful and calm. Near the edge of a cliff, he noticed a silhouette, a lady in a red, flaming dress, her hair and eyes matching the fiery hue of her gown, illuminating against the darkness. Sarenhart focused, and recognition struck. Princess Brianna Solvane. He took a careful step onto the grass. The rustle alerted her, and her gaze turned toward him. The sky remained clear and starry, but a sense of storm yet to come lingered in the air.